You know that moment when a friend asks, should I finally upgrade from my aging laptop to a desktop, or just keep tinkering with that clunky mini PC I bought a couple of years ago? I've been there, scrolling through endless specs, trying to picture how a new rig would actually sit in a cramped apartment, how loud it would be when I'm in the middle of a raid, and whether I'd be throwing away money on something that feels more like a brag badge than a workhorse. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this video I'm going to walk through the Skytech Gaming Chronos Mini, break down where it really shines, where it might bite you, and help you decide if it's worth the cash before you click that Buy Now button. First off, the Chronos Mini is a compact tower that promises a full-size gaming experience in a 10-liter case. That's a big deal for anyone living in a dorm room, a small studio, or just someone who hates the eyesore of a traditional tower. The machine packs an Intel Core Ultra 7 U7270K, which runs at 3.7 GHz base and can turbo up to 5.4 GHz, paired with an NVIDIA RTX 5068 GB GDDR7 GPU. On paper that combo looks like it should crush 1080p titles at high settings and even dabble in 1440p. The real test is how those numbers translate when you're actually launching games, streaming, or doing a bit of content creation. I set the Chronos Mini up next to my 27-inch 144Hz monitor and hooked it to my router via Wi-Fi 6. The first thing I noticed was how quick the system booted thanks to the 1TB NVMe SSD. Windows 11 was up and running in under 10 seconds. That kind of responsiveness feels like a high-end laptop, but you're getting a desktop-class GPU without the extra bulk. When I launched Cyberpunk 2077 on Ultra settings, the FPS hovered around 70 at 1080p, dipping to low mid-60s during heavy traffic scenes. It wasn't a max out at 144Hz experience, but for a mini PC, those numbers are solid, especially when you consider the price point is well below a typical custom build with comparable parts. One of the biggest concerns people have with small form-factor PCs is heat. Skytech equipped the Chronos Mini with a 360mm AIO liquid cooler that wraps around the CPU and feeds a set of three 120mm fans into the case's rear vent. In practice, the unit stayed around 55 degrees under sustained gaming loads, and the fans only ramped up to a moderate hum. If you're a night owl who streams with a microphone on, you won't be jolted awake by a screaming radiator. That said, the case is tightly packed, so if you plan on overclocking the CPU beyond its stock turbo, you'll start to notice the fan curve becoming more aggressive. For most gamers who stick to the default boost clocks, the cooling solution is more than adequate. Now, let's talk about expandability. The Mini has two 2.5-inch slots, so you can add another SSD or a small HDD if you need more storage for a growing library of games. However, there's only one PCIe slot available, which is already occupied by the RTX 5060. If you ever want to swap the GPU for a higher-end model, you'll need to be comfortable with the idea that the case's power supply a 650W80 Plus Gold unit might be pushing its limits if you go for a 3080 class card. In short, the Chronos Mini is great for a set-and-forget build, but it doesn't cater to the hardcore tinkerer who loves swapping parts every few months. Battery life isn't a factor for a desktop, but power consumption is. The system draws roughly 250W at idle and peaks near 350W during intense gaming sessions. That's modest compared to a full tower with a similar GPU, which can push past 500W under load. If you're mindful of your electricity bill, the Chronos Mini offers a sweet spot. You get decent performance without the constant hum of a monster PSU. Who should buy this? If you're a gamer who values space, wants a machine that can handle modern titles at 1080p with high settings, and prefers a clean, cable-free setup, this is a strong candidate. It also works well for creators who need a reliable GPU for occasional video rendering or photo editing. 32GB of DDR5 RAM means you won't be fighting memory bottlenecks when you have dozens of tabs or Photoshop layers open. The built-in Wi-Fi 6 means you can game over a wireless network without pulling an Ethernet cable, which is a lifesaver for apartment dwellers. Who should skip it? If you're chasing 1440p or 4K gaming at ultra-high frame rates, you'll soon feel the ceiling of the RTX 5060. Also, if you love swapping GPUs every few months, the limited internal space and single PCIe slot will be frustrating. Finally, anyone who needs a workstation-grade GPU for heavy AI workloads or professional 3D rendering should look at a larger chassis that can accommodate a more powerful card and better cooling. One practical strength that often gets glossed over is the lack of bloatware. Skytech ships the